This lesson, we are going to be looking at selecting existing documents, and every Google document has its own unique ID, and you can see that within the URL. So usually this is the easiest way to select the document and then use that. You could also select it via the URL, but I do advise to use the ID because I have had experiences with issues selecting it by the URL, and of course the ID is already in the URL, so sometimes it's easier just to do it by ID. So this is how we can select documents using the DocumentApp class. So of course, more information available at developers.google.com/appscript/reference document and then document app. So you can always find that under the reference tab here within the website. And they've got an option here where you can open by ID, and that's exactly what we're doing. So we've already done the one where we're creating the document, and in this case, we want it to open it by the ID. So let's create and update the document. So what we also ultimately want to do is update the doc. So let's set up a function in order to house all of that information, and we'll select the document. So what we need is we need a document ID. So let's set up a variable in order to hold the ID. And the ID, how about we update the one that we just created? So we can go within the URL here and select the ID. So the ID number is just after the D/, and then just before the /edit when you've got it open on your screen. And now that you've selected it, we can go ahead and we can paste that in. So now that we've got the document ID, let's add that into the DocumentApp class and open by ID, and let's try that. So we'll run the update doc, and we should be selecting the right document. Now that we've selected the document, the next step is in order to get the body. So let's create a variable in order to house the body. So similar to what we did earlier where we were selecting the body, we're going to use the getBody method in order to select that. So getBody. So we're going to get that active body into our object format so that we can use that. You can get the children that are contained within the body, so the body object, and as you can see, we can append stuff. We can also copy it, we can clear it, we can edit it as text. We can get the child indexed, we can get the child. There's a lot of options here that we have available to us, and what we want to do is we actually want to get the number of children. So that's an option that we want to select. So this is the value that we want. This is the method that we want to use, getNumChildren. And this will return back within, let's add that into the log. And this will tell us how many children are available within this particular document. So let's run the code, go to view logs. So apparently we've got 3 children in there. And that would be that this is the first element, then we've got the horizontal line, and then we've got the text. So those are the 3 children that are being referenced within the project, within the log. And we can also, now that we've got the number of children, we can create a loop in order to loop through those. So starting out at 0, because this is 0 based, just like arrays, and we can loop through while value of I is less than children, and then taking I, and we're going to increment I by 1. And so this is the function this is the loop that we're creating. And if we want to get the child element, we can use body. And there's a number of other methods. So we can use getChild, because this one's actually asking us for the child index, and the index value will correspond with the value of I. So that will allow us to select the child. And once we've selected the child, then we've got a number of options as well. And in this case, we're just going to get the type of child. So we'll get the type of element that is contained there. So take a look at that and go into the view. So we see that they're all paragraphs. So even the horizontal rule is counted as a paragraph. So we see that we've got the 3 paragraphs there, and we can loop through all of those elements. And then of course we can update and make use of them. How about we update the document and insert some content into there, and also show you another way that we can select all of the paragraphs and update the text that's available within there as well. So there's quite a bit of stuff that we want to still cover. So how about we're going to get that same date object that we did earlier. So we can paste that in, and this can be, this is just JavaScript, of course. So using JavaScript date object and to locale date string method. So that will give us a value. And now we can take that value and we can insert a paragraph. And we can also specify the child index that we want to insert it on. So remember, these were the indexes that we were using. So let's say, for instance, we want to index 0. We can index it and add it in there. And this is expecting a string value. So let's do paragraph. And so this is always going to be going into the 0 paragraph or 0 child element position. So we can do paragraph 0. This is always going to be within the same position. So even if we run the script multiple times, it will just insert it above and then adding in that JS date value so that we can distinguish when it was added into the script. So let's run this one. Going into the Google script, we see that there we've added in the paragraph 0 and its value. So now if we were to add a letter there and go back and run the script one more time to update the doc, you can see that now we've added another paragraph at the 0 spot. And then if we go to view, we see that there's actually 4 children now. So there's 4 paragraphs because we've added in that additional paragraph. So you can insert even more paragraphs, and I'll show you another way to loop through those paragraphs and even update the data, the content of that particular paragraph where we can append some text. So that's still all yet to come in the next lesson. So for now, go ahead and select an already created document via its ID, get it into the body, count the number of elements, the number of children that are available in it, and then you can loop through all the children and get their type, and then also try the insert paragraph method. And you could be ready to move on to the next lesson.